Hey guys, welcome back to the Snapper and Chronicles. We're coming back at you with another Ratchet video. Okay, this time it's another blast from the past. It's a Craftsman Circle H Ratchet. From these usually date from the 30s to the early 40s. For this style of Ratchet, the Circle H's were pretty much certain that they were made by New Britain because they are pretty much identical to New Britain branded ratchets of the same vintage. But before we jump into all that, remember, if you like any of this type of content and you find it informative or enjoyable, can you do me a big favor and hit the like and hit that subscribe button? I will appreciate it. Okay, here's an example that was kind of looks like it was redone somehow. It looks like it was polished maybe recently, not too long before I got this. And also someone added paint to the crevices here, which usually I'm not really into. I like tools that are like kind of just the way they came, kind of all metal, but kind of an interesting take there on restoring this ratchet. And it seems to be not too bad of a restoration. I mean, they did polish the stuff, and the letters they didn't damage the letters, which is good. Everything looks like the letters look crisp and sharp, which is good. And this, of course, made here in the USA and forged, says on the back, and patent pending. So kind of not sure what patent that is. Doesn't have any numbers for patents. Here is the knurling of the handle. There is a hole through the handle for, I guess, you can hang this up somewhere in a shop if you were inclined to do that. Here we look at the knurling. The knurling looks pretty good. Looks uniform all throughout. These are old ratchets, and they seem to be like put together by hand. These are kind of a little wonky to take apart. So for you guys who aren't really patient, I don't know if I would recommend you to take this apart because it's kind of got some stuff going on inside. There are kind of springs and different things which gotta line up. I mean, I don't know how they did this on an assembly line where you have to put these all together by hand. Seemed like it would be really time consuming. Okay, another thing here is that there are two plates, one on each side, so be careful with that. You take out the screws, that both plates might, or one of them might pop out, and everything will spill out. Okay, there is a little bit of spring tension, and I'll get to that in a second. These plates are kind of springy. They want to open up, so I'll put a finger on the back and I'll open this one because it's already popped out. Here's the plate. The plates are very thick and heavy, as you can see there. Here is the gear. The gear looks pretty coarse. 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe less. There's definitely less than 30 teeth on here. Maybe 30 something, maybe 32. Not sure. But here's the gear. The gear looks pretty good. Sharp teeth. Not too bad for a gear this old. From 30s, early 40 vintage. There's the ball detent. Looks okay too. Kind of a light peening on the ball detent. Okay. So here are the pawls. And there's a spring underneath the pawls that kind of mashes them together. You see here's, put the pawl down. Here's one end of it, and we take this pawl out. You can see the other end of it, and there's a hole. There's a hole on the ends that the screw has to go through. So there's that to keep in mind when you're putting this together, that you have to line up the spring with the holes down there and put the screws through the holes in the spring also. And here is the spring. That's what that looks like. I'm surprised that it looks as good as it does for being the age it is. There's no rust on it. And let me just put this down real quick here. And take a look at the pawls. The pawls just have like one step there. Maybe two teeth, you can say. This is what they look like. Look pretty good, actually. The machining looks decent on them. There's some chamfering on the holes, but this one here doesn't look like there's chamfered. It's chamfered on that side, but not this one. This one has the double chamfering, and that's what the pawls look like. Okay, and the plate in the back, be careful taking that out, because there's a ball here on the switch that has a spring underneath of it, and when this pops out, the switch kind of tilts and lets that ball escape, so you don't want to lose that ball. And let me put my hand over that so the ball won't jump out. And that plate was a little bit tight, so I had to knock that out. Alright, now we see this side. Kind of cover it, and you can push the switch to the side, and you can see the ball that's in there. The ball that kind of holds the switch. And they're little domes. The switch on that goes over the ball has been like, they have like little domes to hold the place whichever way you're switching. If you go in there or there, it kind of sits under those little domes, the ball. And underneath that, there's a spring. And do we really need to see that spring? I guess we do, right? Let me grab a pick here and see if I can dig out that spring to give you the whole experience. And the spring went flying somewhere. Let me pause this and I'll get back to you when I get the spring back. Okay, we got the spring back. Luckily it didn't go too far, and here is what it looks like. I'm not sure if this is the original spring. Could well be, but I don't know. Also looks kind of well preserved. It's really tight. It's like you can hardly move it. Okay, so this goes back in the hole for safekeeping. Okay, and to put all this back together, take the ball, put it under the switch like there to keep it in place. Okay, now we grab our plate, our bottom plate, which doesn't have the letters, and you put that in. And that one's kind of under tension. That's why it wants to pop out. It's kind of under tension from this part of the switch here that's under tension, that's being pushed up with that ball and spring. So it's kind of pushing down. This fork here of the switch is pushing down on that plate on the bottom. So you have to put a little bit of pressure on there. And now you take your pawls, put them in their places. Remember, the teeth of the pawl are facing that way, like that. So each one is facing that way. Okay. Now you take the spring, and this is kind of the tricky part, is getting the spring. You got to get the tips of the spring. You have to go over here. Okay, kind of like that. So they have to, like, they're trying to squish the pawls together, and then you can take your gear. I guess the gear was facing down. The anvil was facing down on this one. And there we go. Well, let's try that again. Okay. Kind of like that. See what I mean? There's too much going on here. It's like you gotta hold the plate, put pressure on that, get this, put the spring in the proper position, and then put the holes of the spring in the proper position for when you put the screws back in. And this plate was kind of the one I had to knock in. Wait a second. Okay, see how it all came apart again, and now it all went flying. Oh boy, this is gonna be a long video. Let's try that again. Okay. Now we get the plate. No. Now comes the gear. Okay. And comes this plate. Okay. Kinda like that. Get one of these screws in and make sure it's through the hole of the spring, and this screw, make sure it's through the hole of the spring. Okay, now try to screw these down. try to get this plate down. Okay. Now, this screw is not catching because let me screw these down a little bit, make sure. Okay, this one I might have to knock in a little bit. Let's see if we got enough to screw this one in. Yeah. Oh boy, and maybe we'll knock that a little bit more in. So we can get more of the screws in. Okay. Oh boy. Yeah, you see what I'm talking about? Okay, so now let's see if it's switching. Yep, it's switching. Okay, yeah, seems to be switching all right. So there you have it. Like I said, probably as if if you're getting into going into ratchets and taking them apart, maybe you want to start somewhere else, maybe a little bit more simpler. This is kind of one where you might need like 3 or 4 hands to really expedite taking this apart and putting it back together. I mean, taking it apart, yeah, it's simple. Take the screws out, knock out the plates. It's the getting it back together again that's kind of a little bit involved. All right, guys. I hope you liked this look at a vintage Craftsman with the old Craftsman symbol, Circle H, 1/2 inch ratchet, and I'll see you guys next time. Until next time.